Hello. In just a few minutes, I'll actually start recording the lesson where we will be talking. I'll be giving some examples on how to fill in the check register. And also I want to thank my students in class for allowing me to record during our class. If someone's never done something like this, they have a little better idea, I hope. So these are examples that will help you with that 5-1 challenge. And we already did, if you notice, this time I left some of the stuff in here. Every single lesson has like this big pack of things that we could do. Well, we don't have time to do all of them. So I go through and delete things. So this time I left some of the things on. And so we talked about like how we can shop for and pay for things, what other things we can use, and we kind of looked at some of these other things. But that bottom one in gray is actually the one that's going to be the assignment. And so check writing, and there's some good examples here that I also talked about, are good tips that I also talked about in the PowerPoint. Thinking about how you would say the word $7,450 already on the check. And you don't want to say like and 50 or 7,000 and, just save and for when it's, if you had cents at the end. Using a dash between things like $21.99, and using like the wavy line kind of thing, or like a line through things to like make sure people can't just easily add to things. And so again, I know that my current audience has done this, but to give an example, in case someone has never written a check, I'm gonna use Mr. iPad here. So I'm gonna, for this part, just use on page 20, I'm just gonna like write a check, except that that's not the right number, so that's gonna bug me, but maybe that's the one I'm gonna use. No, page 9. Page 9 where it says practice writing some checks, so I'm gonna use one of that. So buy a pair of tickets to an upcoming school event for $42.50. So I'm not sure what this one line is, other than maybe a mistake at the top. So today's date is 10/21/2020. And let me get rid of my little note about who's writing. And since it's payable to our school, obviously write clearly enough that that doesn't look like 2026, 26. So the Excel Center. And $42.50. See if I can get this where I can write clearly in that little box, perhaps. So pretend this is inside the box. $42.50, the world's largest check coming on here. So then 40-2 and 50/100 for my 50 cents. And then the word dollars is already there. And then, for instance, I'm just going to sign this John Smith, since that's whose name is at the top over there. And memo, then I could put tickets. By the way, your bank doesn't care if you write anything in the memo or not. That is for you. I often use it as a place to, like, if I'm paying a bill, like I'll put the account number or the statement, just in case there's any question about which, you know, but the bank doesn't care if you put anything down there or not. So not a requirement as far as the bank is concerned. So that's how we would write out a check. In this case, the Excel Center would be the payee. John Smith would be the payer. Okay. This 002, 003, 004, 1 number would be our routing number. 109-232-0004 would be our account number. And this check number is 2008. So there's an example of writing a check. I'm not going to end up asking you to write a check because most of you don't have an iPad and a handy dandy stylus available to try to make that look like anything that even looks reasonable. So if we look at this one now, we have, this was Jason, and I think this was probably one of the ones in the PowerPoint. And we have actually a check register for this one. So I'm gonna have to make this smaller so I can see the numbers at the same time. Now, for your assignment, I put your check register in an Excel spreadsheet because then it's gonna do the math for you. So in this case, here I would, starting with his first thing, he opened the checking account with a cash deposit. So I'm going to put a D here for deposit. If you want to write DEP, we all probably have our own little notations that we use. I'll go ahead and use this week. So that would have been 10/19. And then this transaction opened account. And then the $200 then, is it a deposit or a payment? Well, it's a deposit. And since it's the first deposit, it is also the balance. And I believe I have it set up in the spreadsheet that it will automatically put the no cents. So then looks like he has an automatic withdrawal to pay for checks. So auto pay, there's more than, like, you just decide. You want to use AW for automatic withdrawal. I would guess if we looked at different people's checks, they probably all have different things that they use. So 10/19 again, and then checks. And this is a payment, $20. Now, because this is in a document, not in a spreadsheet, I got to do the math. Now, in some checkbooks, in your checkbook, you might have it where you're using every other line, so you can actually write the -20 underneath. I did not set up the spreadsheet to do that because I put a formula in balance that it knows if you put something in the payment column to subtract. So if I subtract 20 from 200, now I have $180. I go on Wednesday, wrote a check number 100. So instead of code, now I put the check number. Don't like that that's going way over there. And this was Wednesday, so that would have been 10/21. And this is Fine Foods. Okay, so that's who I wrote it to. And that's usually where I stop. Now, if it's something like, I'm not going to remember what this is for, I might also type the word groceries there. But if it's a check, just writing down who you wrote it out to. I think if we, Fine Foods, we're probably going to know that it was grocery. If I made a check to Kroger, I probably know it's groceries, all right, or Payless or whatever. And so in this case, $23.11. Is that going into our account or coming out? Coming out. You're typically going to have a lot more things coming out than going in. We do a lot more subtracting from our checking accounts than adding in most cases. So now we need to subtract the 2311 from the 180. So it looks like $156.89, I think. Yeah. Okay. My previous life as a waitress before cash registers that just figured everything out. most of the time I can do a lot of that dollar and cents subtraction in my noggin. So most of the time, but please, if you see that I make a mistake, speak up. And then check 101. Now, what you can probably see quickly is, and that's the same day, is that if you make a mistake in the subtraction, then everything from that place on is going to be off. So be careful. And that's part of why I also put a formula in that would automatically do the addition and subtraction for you as long as you put it in the right column. Because if you make a mistake here, like if here, I don't know, I put in, and that's not right, then my balance from there and everything below is all going to be wrong. So each step of the way, be sure that, you know, you're grabbing a calculator, or like I said, leave the formula that I put in there, and I will remind you how to drag that down here in just a second. That's not going to be a 6. So how about a 3? All right. So 50, 89, 6, 5. Yeah. All right. So, and so on. Okay. Auto withdrawal. We got a check for 102. On Saturday, we finally get a deposit. So you don't need to finish this. You guys have a copy of it so that if you wanted to follow along as you watch the video or as you guys are in class, but you don't have to finish this. This is not an actual assignment. That's why it says 0 points or no points or not for a grade or whatever. At the end of this, you should come up with 201.65. That would let you know, like, did I do that right? And then tomorrow, I'm going to talk about this part about like balancing this with the statement. And then at the end, we just have some other things with Zoe, but these are just some more examples. Please, if you have things like this, notice this says $3.69 a gallon and she pumped 15 gallons. So don't put 369. We would need to do a little math, okay? You are earning not only econ, personal finance, but also business math. So it is not without reason for me to ask people to do a little math in the class, all right? So please, if you had something like that, do that multiplication, and she's not swiping it 15 times for 369. So you wouldn't want to do that. All right, so let's look a little bit about what your actual assignment looks like. This was just one for me to be able to pull up for today and tomorrow for some examples. So this checking challenge assignment, again, it is the assignment for today and tomorrow. Oh, I just clicked on the same darn thing, my bad. So let's not go there. So second one, there we go. So you're going to notice you have 3 different things. You do not need to worry about the checking reconciliation at first, but you are going to want to pull this up, which may mean that you have to download it. For me, at least, that's what I open it here. Okay, so you're going to want to have that open and have your Google Sheet open also. And you should see then that I have started putting the beginning transactions on there. So I already did the opening deposit. These check marks, these little boxes are going to be used when you do the reconciliation. So you don't need to do anything with that at the beginning. Here, EFT, electronic fund transfer. I use DC for debit card, D for deposit. At this point, there hadn't been any actual checks yet. And then I have over here, there's already a formula in there. So remember to copy the formula. You're going to get on that bottom corner and drag it down. Now, right now, it says all these are 266.13 because we haven't done something else. But notice if I type something in the deposit column and hit enter, it automatically added that. If I type something in this column, it automatically subtracted it. So as long as you put things in the right columns, the formula will do the subtraction for you. Be careful with your typing. If it's only dollars, like if I just type 20, I did not type 20.00. I have those columns set up to automatically put the 00 on there. So if it's a whole number, a whole dollar amount, you can type 0.00. It's not going to hurt anything, but you don't have to. It will automatically show up that way. But if it's like 7512, you need to type the decimal in there. It won't know to like stick a decimal in. So let's see, where's my, so, and in that file, which is tiny, tiny, tiny here, which I thought I said open, but it doesn't look like it's open to me. So the first page is just basically what I'm going to, it's kind of got the directions at the top, and then like what I'm going to look at, like, do you have things done? Did you do this? Is the account balance correct, etc. And then the second page, there's information at the top and information on the calendar. My advice, if I have this, if you have a way to print it, if you have it on paper, I would then on the 10th, on this Friday, I would write these things. This is the 10th of each month. So I would write on the 10th, if Friday the 10th of November, L-Key rental 550 and this. And I would go ahead and write it on the 10th of December so I don't forget it. So that then I can just look at, if I put these top things on my calendars, then I could just do my check register looking at the calendar only. All right. Or just get a piece of paper and make a list on paper. Like list things out in order on paper and then put them in the check register if you don't have a way to print it. So it is going to be some work. All right. So that's why we have the next 2 days to worry about it. And you guys give me some feedback, like how much time it's taking you, because if it's taking longer, I'm not beyond, I mean, I think I actually even said the due date was over the weekend, but I don't really, I know our normal expectation is not that people have to do a lot of things outside of class time. So, you know, today we have basically 30 minutes of class. And then tomorrow, the reconciliation part's only going to be about 15 minutes of lesson. So we'd have about an hour. So if it doesn't seem like something that someone could reasonably get done in an hour and a half, then I may want to say part of that is Monday's lesson also. So it's not that I expect someone to sit for 3 hours over the weekend and finish this. And I also know, like, not having the paper in your hand, if you're writing everything on paper and then typing it in, just that process is going to mean more time. And again, I'm not expecting that it be a 15-minute process, but I'm also not expecting that if it's more than an hour and a half, then I want to allow some, I want to allow some time on Monday also, because I feel like this is a meaningful project and like real life, like this is stuff we'd have to think about. And so useful. And so I want you to have the time to do it and do it well. And so that's where we're at with that. So, and if people have questions, I want them to be able to ask. So I will still, again, tomorrow, I will open up Zoom, and tomorrow I will talk about the reconciliation part. But once you have seen this video, for those of you watching the video, then you should be able to get started with doing all the transactions, okay? And then I would try to get at least some of those done. And if you're having trouble or you're not certain, I teach this class at 12:45 and again at 2:15. So basically from 12:45 until 3:30 tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to go through the PowerPoint twice, or the reconciliation part twice, like 2 15-minute talking about it. And the rest of the time I'll be available for questions if you have them. If you don't ask questions, I can't help you. All right. So, and it's probably not something I can just like answer quickly in an email. So please get started on it so that you know if you have questions or not. All right. Okay. Thanks. I hope that is helpful to get you started. I hope that what I started on here like gives you something to model things after. Those things were dated in November. I realize it's not November yet. That's okay. I just went by the dates because it said for November and December. So that's why. All right.